What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So, to my surprise, seems like everybody enjoyed the betrayal video featuring Richie, the rat. And so, you know, a lot of people were saying, how can you leave me with the cliffhanger? And how can you leave me hanging? And we got to hear the second part, this and that. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm going to tell you more. I'm going to let you know more about what was happening. We're going to bring a new person in this episode or this part. But I'm going to tell you right now how this story ends. How this thing with Richie ends, I'm not going to go into. Let you know now. I'll let you know certain things, but there's a good reason why I'm not going to go into it. And that's just to be respectful to other people. Now, what I wasn't clear about, I want to make sure I'm clear on today's episode. So, or today's part 2. So, when B and I decided, okay, we got to let this dude on, his name came back clear. You guys got to know, first of all, back then the legends were all in the Bay. And when we would run a name through, and it could come back clean, but that doesn't mean that the person is clean. It's just what they've found out or what they know about currently. This is the status, the current status, right? And nobody knew about the Salinas Valley thing. Like I said, I found out later. It all started unraveling once I wound up in Ad Seg. And maybe we get that far into it today. But what I want to say is this. So when B and I decided, okay, we're going to put him on here. We're going to keep him close so that we can keep an eye on him. But we're going to also make sure we try to limit. We're not going to let him know everything that we have on the table, you know. But one of the things we did do, and it was for a reason, and I had talked about is we had let him know, there are a few people here that we're going to be whacking, right? We got to hit these dudes. And like I said, it wasn't that they had bad charges or anything. It was just, debts, shit like that, right? And so we let them know, and mysteriously, these guys started getting rolled up, life in danger, right? The cops were rolling them up, saying they got information that their lives were in danger. So that was just more where we're like, like if this dude is dirty, then that's his job for the Judas to try to basically be a crime fighter, I guess, right? And one of the dudes that I really, really wanted, it was somebody that was selling dope for me on the yard. And he actually had one of the buildings for us. He had one building at the time for us. And it was somebody that I liked, right? He was cool with me. And he fell short. And I really wanted to set an example out of him. And everybody on the table knew, Richie knew. And he was one of the first ones that all of a sudden there was a kite drop that his life was in danger, right? Now, I had mentioned that I was plotting on Richie as well as a CO. So let's get into the CO. This ties in a major way. So in New Folsom, there was a correctional officer, very well known, straight piece of shit. He was originally from Texas, and you know I get a lot of love out of Texas. Thank you, shout out to Texas. Thank you for all the support. But it's not a secret that a lot of Tejanos really don't like dudes from California. This CO was one of those guys, and he had been notorious for setting people up and abusing people, really fucking people up. I remember in the Bay, when I was on B Yard, the first time I was in New Folsom, I heard his name, and they were like, man, this dude, I'm going to just call him Zap. That's the nickname he called himself. That's not his last name, but he knows who he is if he sees this. And when I was on B Yard, we heard about him, how scandalous he was. And I remember the homie saying, because he was really focused on the Raza from Northern California on C facility. And I remember the homies on B Yard were like, yeah, he comes over here with that shit, we'll just whack him, right? I remember being in Pelican Bay Shoe, and a lot of the Northerners that had been in New Folsom that were validated. Samudio was the one that got them validated, right? He's the one that came up with all the info. Well, I'm on C Yard for a while, right? A little while. And then on Cinco de Mayo, I don't remember what year it was, we hit two dudes. I told the story about it. And a few weeks later, Zap is on the yard. When I saw him on the yard, I told the other homies, the other meseros, I said, hey, we're in trouble. And they were like, why? I said, he's here for us. I said, they brought this dude back for us. And I said, hey, we just got to be tight. Keep doing things the way we've been doing them. But know that we got to tighten it up even more. This dude's a snake. He's going to try to flip people. That's what he does. Or he may try to set us up. And then that's when we can go ahead and do what we want. Well, he had been on the yard about 2 or 3 weeks, shadowing me everywhere. Right. And one day I walked with one of the homies to the canteen. We wanted to go turn in a ducat or something. I don't remember what it was, but we went down there. And there he is standing in front of the canteen. He had a hat on. He rarely wore a hat. If I remember right, he rarely wore a hat. He had a hat on. And he called me by my nickname, right? And I ignored him. Then he called me again by my nickname, and I looked at him and I said, are you talking to me? And he goes, yeah, I'm talking to you. I said, that ain't my name. I told him my last name. I go, that's my name. And he goes, I know who you are, and I know what you're doing here. I told him, I think you got the wrong guy. So we're having this conversation. It's cat and mouse. You know how it is. And he grabs his hat, the front of his hat. He turns it sideways, right? So the bill's here. And he goes, do I look stupid? And I was like, yeah, you do, eh? And so bottom line, they had some cops that got hit on B Yard. It was the blacks that had did it. I think that was when they threw that female. They hit her and threw her down the stairs. And he told me, hey, I'm here for you. He said, that double hit that went down on Cinco de Mayo really embarrassed the administration. So they sent me here to get you. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you got the wrong guy. And so we're going back and forth. And he tells me straight up. He says, look, I don't give a fuck if you guys get into it with the blacks. Well, he didn't say that word. He used a racist term. This dude was a sicko. He used a racist term, right? But he says, I don't give a fuck if you get into it with the blacks, the whites, anybody in blue. I don't give a fuck. He goes, we just cannot be having anybody, smashing on anyone in green. And I said, okay, well then let's speak hypothetically. Let's say hypothetically, I had some say in that, right? I said, as long as nobody in green disrespects nobody in blue, there wouldn't be a problem here. He said, okay, that's all I needed to hear. He said, I'm going to leave you alone. I said, all right, whatever. In prison, it's a cat and mouse game. They got a job to do, and we got a job to do. And so I already knew was not going to give up. He was just trying to let my guard down, but he put his word out there. Hey, as long as no Judas get hit, I'm not after you, right? So Richie's there. When Richie gets there, it's around the same time as Zap, right? And I had a feeling that was a cold combination, but I didn't want to believe that he was that. You know what I mean? Like I had my spider senses going. But with Richie being a program office clerk, me being on the yard crew, Richie would get out early in the morning. And I had heard rumors that Richie was being seen in the morning talking to Zap. Which, I mean, all you had to do was go to work, go to the program office, Zap, go in there, and they talk, right? But I remember at one point, I guess Zap was trying to, I don't know what it was. He had always, everybody knew, he had a book he wanted to write. And it was a book about prison and all his years. And, you know, he had supposedly gotten beat up, thrown off the tier, and the only way he didn't die was in Soledad back in the, I don't know, in the 80s, and he handcuffed himself to the rail and was hanging by his handcuff, and you know they broke his leg. It was a Southerner that did it. Actually, he wound up being a professional heavyweight boxer out of San Fernando. If you know, you know. Allegedly, he's the one that did it. That's what this dude Zap would tell anybody that would listen. Well, one day he tells me, "Hey, I want to show you something," and he had an office in the breezeway between the big and the small side of the yard, right? Check this out. He goes, I'm going to show you something. So I go in there, right? He goes to unlock the door to that office. There's no gun coverage. There's a gun coverage on each end, but there's no gun coverage inside. He unlocks the door and he looks at me. He reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a buck knife and opens it up. And he said, I just want to make sure this is fair. Because he figured, you know, I was strapped and, you know, he said, I want to make this fair. He goes, but just so you know, and this is, swear to God, this is his words. He goes, this is my crib killer. And I was like, this fucking dude's weird, eh? I went in that office, and he pulls out his backpack. Excuse me. He pulls out his backpack, right? And he pulls this folder out. And it's a green folder, and it had the name of the legends that the raza from Southern California fall under. It had their name real big on the front. He opens it up. And it was full of pictures of members of that organization. He tried to flash back, like buy a page real quick, and I go, wait, what was that? A legend that had recently died. It was a picture of him in his casket. Disrespect. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to get this dude. And then he flips over, and it's got a picture of 4 people. Me and 3 other dudes on the mesa. And he goes, I'm just trying to figure out who the 5th one is. And Richie's picture wasn't in there. I said, I don't know what the fuck that shit is, eh? I don't know what the fuck this book is all about and why you brought me in to show me this. He's like, oh, I just wanted to show you, know, I'm going to write this book, this and this and that. And I was like, I'm cool with you, eh? You know, this is, I guess, how he used to try to flip people and work people, scare people. So I made it clear to him, it doesn't matter where you put me. I said, if you're trying to, you know, get me slammed down and validate me and all that, I said, you need to remember something. All you're doing is moving me from one cell to another. I'm not afraid of none of that shit. I left. I believe he got spooked after that. Wasn't long after that. There was a dude from Florencia that we had to have hit. I told the story. It's in another video. The dude got hit 33 times. Zap was not working the day that he got hit. And I had a feeling, I told my Sally, when this fool comes in, I think he was going to come in on a Monday. I think it happened on a Sunday. I said, I have a feeling when this dude comes in, he's going to snatch me up. Sure enough, he comes in. They come, cuff me up, take me down to the cages. And this fool says, no, I told him, I said, hey, your word is shit. He was like, what? I said, you said as long as no COs got hit, you weren't fucking with none of us. I said, no CO got hit and I'm in the fucking cage. I go, now everybody knows your word is fucking shit. He said, man, he got hit 33 times. I said, so what? The fuck you thought? I go, did you think that because you came on this yard, you were going to stop prison from being prison? He said, look, normally I tell guys, if they give me 3 names, I'll let them out the cage. He goes, but because of who you are, give me 1 name. I said, man, fuck you. I said, then I'm the next motherfucker with 33 holes in me. Fuck you, get the fuck out of here. He went in that motherfucking program office. I was in the cage for hours. One of the clerks comes out. Of course, it's not Richie. Conveniently, Richie can't come out and communicate with me what's going on. There's another dude, and he comes out, and he's just like, hey, Holmes, he's trying to get you. He goes, he's having us type up a gang of 1030 forms on you. 1030 forms are confidential memorandums. A 1030 is when somebody drops information on you to the Juras, right? If you've been around and you know about 1030 forms, there's certain boxes that have to be checked, right? So a few hours later, he comes out and he goes, here, give me my lockup order. In the lockup order, it said that I was identified as being a part of the Mesa, part of the leadership of the Southern Hispanic, all this bullshit, right? Whatever. 1030 forms. No boxes marked. They're bogus. This is a tactic that this cat used on dudes that didn't know any better. This is to shake the trees and see what falls out. I guess it worked with other people. But see, what he didn't realize is you're exposing your game to me. You're showing me how you're working these dudes. So I wind up going to Ad Seg, right? To the hole. The day after I went to the hole, there was a murder in my building in B section, right? I go to the hole. I'm there, I believe it was 30 days. They were trying to validate me with 10 bogus 1030 forms. It's not going to work. So I beat it. I go back out. I go back out to find out that while I was gone, Richie was planting seeds in the other meseros' heads. See, he didn't expect that I was going to come back. I guess Zap didn't explain to him that he didn't mark any boxes, that there was no confidential information usable. There was no reliable source that they were using. It was just a cop trying to play games. So Richie was trying to smut me up with the other meseros. And it came to my attention as soon as I got back. We were on lockdown for the murder. So there's no yard movement, right? And another mesero slides me the huila where Richie's trying to build a case against me. Don't show him. He's telling them not to show me the huila, that they have to come to a conclusion so that it can be dealt with at yard, this and this and that. I knew then and there, this vato right here and Zap are a duo. They're a team. Zap was scared because what he tried didn't work. I had it in motion. I talked to a homie that was upstairs from me. He said yes, he would hit Zap once I got it cleared. My intentions were to get out as soon as Yard come out. I was gonna whack Richie. Remember, by this time, I forgot this part. Bobo has been snatched up. I forgot the part where they rushed us. I get sent to potty watch. B gets sent to he gets snatched up. He goes with the oil. And damn, I said his name. Anyways, things got very ugly very fast once Richie and Zap got spooked. So now, because of this lockdown, Richie's scrambling, Zap is scrambling, and I'm sending Huilas out to who I gotta send them out to, and I'm telling everybody nobody touches them but me. Let me take the heat for it because I'm not clearing it, but I know that it will be cleared if I do it personally, right? When it comes time for Yard to be released, my cell all of a sudden is capped. Everybody gets released but me. So I'm telling the tower cop, hey, open my fucking door, man. Give me my Yard time. He's like, hey, they're going to escort you to the program office in a minute so you can figure out what's going on. I said, I'm not getting escorted nowhere. So the lieutenant came. They knew that this dude, because I told him, we can cell extract if you want. You're not going to just escort me to the program office. I did that last time you sent me to the oil. We're doing everything right here in front of everybody. So the lieutenant comes up and he's like, hey, there was information dropped that you were going to get hit. I said, hold up, man. Last month, you just sent me to the hole saying I was that guy. I was that gangster here. Now you're telling me I'm a punk? Which one is it? I said, and I told the lieutenant, I said, listen, I told him straight out. I said, Zap is playing games. Zap is a coward. I said, Zap has something to do with this, man. I said, bring me whatever chrono I got to sign. I'm signing it right now. Lieutenant says, I can't do that. But what I will do, he goes, if you cuff up and come down, I will look into it. He goes, if he's involved and it looks dirty, he goes, I'll release you. I'll send you back to your cell. So I said, all right, I can't drag everybody in. I go down there. He pulls me into the program office and he's like, look, a kite was dropped. It was given to Zap, but a kite was dropped. I just read it. I said, when was the information given? He said, this morning it was hand delivered. I said, is that right? He goes, yeah. I said, all the Southerners are on lockdown for the murder. So, who could have gave it to him? Richie, of course. I don't tell him that. But I'm trying to tell him there's no Mexican that could have came out to give him that information. How did he get a kite delivered to him by hand? But again, it was another thing where I knew this motherfucker Richie, these two are working together. So there I go to Ad Seg. After 30 days, they cleared it. Gave me a Sally. Actually sailed back up. I sailed up with B. And then began for us the struggle, and I'd say between C facility and B facility. During this struggle, we were focused on Richie, and the B facility cats were focused on us. Remember, we were shining. They were creating a lot of headaches and bullshit. And for whatever reason, they felt we were competition. Instead of everybody being cool with each other and working with each other, which we had to, but it was a surface level thing. So I'm still over here plotting on Zap, plotting on Richie. Maybe I'd have to do another. Let me see. This is already too long. This is 26 minutes long already. I don't want to make this a 40-minute video. Maybe I'll do a part 3 and get into the ugliness of Ad Seg because of Richie. And I can talk about how because of Richie, I was able to expose another individual. You know, people were whispering about an individual back there, somebody whose name was respected, but there were some strange things going on. And because of Richie, I was able to expose him. And it's all a trip, man. You know, I tell these stories so people can see how treacherous it is and how, you know, again, look. Before I end this, I'm gonna say I got a green light on Richie. But the B facility guys were still in their zeal to try to tarnish me and B and a few others of us that were back there that came from C facility. They weren't even focused on Richie. They were focused on trying to make themselves look better by making us look worse, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. But anyways, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this second part. I know it's a cliffhanger. I'm getting into stuff that I don't like to really talk about, and it's hard to talk about it, you know, and try to keep names out. I slipped up a second, you know, on this one, but you know, it is what it is. But I'm trying to paint a picture for you guys. There's no romanticism. There's nothing glamorous or glorious about being a convict. Like I always say, everybody in there wishes they were out here like us. Eh? With that said, everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.